Hey, what's going on internet? Josh Noel from SonduckOne. So today we have a Black Ops 3 gameplay on Nuketown, and I end up going 38-2, and it really upsets me because I should have went flawless, but hey, things happen, and this is Nuketown, so you will probably die several times, but basically Nuketown is definitely a map where you can die quite often, but if you can give yourself, if you can put yourself in position where you can be behind the enemy, you have a good chance of not dying so much. And as you can see, right off the start here, I get right behind them, and I'm getting a lot of kills from the back, and you'll see more of that and for the next couple of minutes where I'm just killing the other team from the back because they have no idea that I'm behind them. Even after I kill them a few times, they still don't know I'm there because on a map like Nuketown, people usually think like the game's just fast and like they're not gonna go ahead and look constantly around them. They're more occupied with what's in front of them because Nuketown's such a small map, and really there's a lot going on this map. So it's really cool that that has some help from my team to kind of distract them, because as you can see, like everyone just on the people I'm killing are just more occupied of looking in front of them and not behind them. And the guy I just killed in this room, he did come up here, and I think he was trying to come and try to look for me because I was like right behind that bus there. But anyway, I mean, I start off really well on this gameplay, and at this point, I'm really close to wrapped, so I'm trying to make sure not to mess that up. And of course, I just easily picked it up, and once again, they don't know I'm still up here. It's like, it's ridiculous because this map is just really small, so I'm able to do that. And then of course I have to pick up the LMG for the dingo, and I always end up picking up LMGs when I run low on ammo, which I don't know why that always happens to me, but it sure does. And then at this point, I know I'm basically flawless, so I'm not as aggressive as I was to start off the map, and that's usually how I usually change my game style, maybe like halfway through the game. Especially after starting off really strong, because I want to be kind of unpredictable. And of course, I do, get a little bit, like I feel like a little bit of pressure, comes on once I'm pulling off a good game. I think at this point I might be like, 25-0, something like that. And, I just get, I guess, a little bit nervous. Like, I don't want to die. I'm trying not to die. So, I know that probably would not continue to work out if I would go across the map and try to do the same exact thing I did to start off the game. I would probably die a couple times, and honestly, at this point, the game is pretty much under control, especially with the wraps on the field, and really just starting to pull away from on the scoreboard. But of course, my team and their team was pretty much balanced out. So, good thing that I did have a monster game, because I think we probably would have lost the game if I didn't end up going 38-2. But at this point, I'm just like, trying to watch the spawns changing, because in team deathmatch on Black Ops 3, just the spawns change so fast, so you always have to be aware of where players are at, just by looking at the mini map, seeing where your team is at and seeing where the red dots are popping up at. So you gotta be always aware of that, and that's one thing that I always look at. I'm probably like maybe 50% of the time I always look at the mini map, and just because I'm trying to figure out where everything's at. And right here, I'm getting a little bit worried because I see my team that's not really pushing forward, so I'm kind of staying back because I don't want to risk my flawless gameplay. I see my team kind of just like staying around the house here and letting the team control the middle of the map, the other team control the middle of the map. And right here, eventually things do not work out. I was a little upset about that death, but I probably should have not been out in the open like that. I should have maybe been on the second floor, looking out the windows, observing the game, seeing what's happening around me. But I ended up getting, double teamed and ended up in my death. So, probably could have did some, sliding, to get into a better position. But ultimately, I was in their line of sight and I died. So, should have avoided that. And this was pretty much not the smartest thing I could have done, is run out in the middle of the map to pick up a kill. I was like, in the back of the map thing was not working out for me. So I figured, I'll run in the middle of the map and try to pick up a few kills. But it just turned out to be too much because, their team was pretty much all in the middle of the map. And luckily I was able to get out of it. And at this point, I know just being in the middle of the map would just be like suicide. So I'm not going to, put myself in a position where I don't have to, put myself in that position. So over here, I'm already picking up a couple of kills. I was right in their spawn. and picked up a few kills, and I'm just trying to observe the map once again. And I know the game's almost over, and I know I've only died once. So I'm trying not to risk too much, especially I like to have a high KDR, and I don't want to risk too much. So I'm trying my best to not force anything. And of course, now I see that my team is pushing forward a little bit, so I kind of go to the front doorway, and then that does lead to my death, and that pretty much was not a good death. I should have slid to the right corner of the doorway, and I probably would have avoided a death. But anyway, it is a 38-2 gameplay, 19-point kill death ratio, and I think that is awesome, especially on a map like Nuketown. Nuketown's so easy to die on, and you really have to be strategic, but it turned out to be a great game and a lot of fun. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like. It helps me out tremendously, and if you're interested in my videos and my tips and stuff like that in Call of Duty, please subscribe. And guys, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon.